Okay, so let's close our eyes. So we're talking about dealing with people who disappoint us. And the subtitle, actually, which we didn't bring up in the talk, was do we drop it, meaning do we drop the issue? Or do we drop them, the person who has disappointed us? And I think the obvious answer when we're talking about disappointment, unless it's one disappointment after another, where we've made the executive decision of those three choices that we have in any one situation of either accepting the person 100% for the way they are, speaking our truth, meaning bringing it up to them, or leaving. And we've said 99.99% of the time, leaving can be just temporary, that we just give ourselves some space, some time. We give the relationship some space and time, as opposed to such a cold, hard edict that it's over with. But every once in a while, that may be called for as well, because we weren't meant to be self-abusive. And we're self-abusive when somebody continues to do something that is not healthy for us. But we can only determine that when we surrender whatever charges we may have inside of ourselves that may have absolutely nothing to do with the other person. It's like lightning creates no charge if it hits sand, or if it doesn't connect to the ground. There's only a major spark when it hits metal or something conductive. Likewise with us, if we were perfect spiritual human beings, perfect human angels, which of course every one of us are, just that we have to dig through quite a lot of conditioning and programming and patterns in order to get to that essence, that divine essence, who not only the other person truly is, but digging through all of that, meaning surrendering whatever we're holding on to, and we get to our own divine essence. So the specific topic and title of today, as I already stated, is what to do when somebody disappoints us. Which in itself implies that leaving most likely is not really the appropriate action. Harsh words, abrupt actions, dropping somebody from our life because they've disappointed us. We've all experienced that. Maybe we've all done that ourselves. But with a simple disappointment, as opposed to repeated over and over again disappointments, and as opposed to a betrayal or somebody just overtly not acting in our interest for our own health and our own well-being, But when somebody disappoints us, if you really look deep, it probably happens every day. Serviceman doesn't show up on time. Our significant other doesn't make dinner at the right time that we were expecting them, or with exactly the way we were expecting. We disappoint ourselves for not accomplishing everything we set out to accomplish that day. To err is human, to forgive is divine. We are all flawed. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, far more than we probably even realize. We step on far more toes than we ever even realize. There are far more people out there who, in their minds, are holding a grudge against us, have some form of resentment towards us. And we too, how much are we holding on to? How much are we not looking at as far as being reflections, mirrors, projections from something that is really inside of us as opposed to outside of us? Indeed, those words from a 16th century poet, Alexander Pope, to err is human, to forgive is divine. Relating to the 5 phases of speaking your truth, our impulse is to jump immediately to the 5th phase, what is classically known as telling them the way it is, drawing a line in the sand. Creating a boundary. And yet, if we don't go through the other 4 phases, if we don't hold the space, simply hold the space, sometimes just giving it time, that energy field that we create of patience, of surrender, of willingness to look at and be open to another possibility. So holding the space does all of that and so much more. We can always speak our truth. We can always lay it on the line. We can always tell them the way it is at any time. But when we start off just holding the space, giving ourselves time, giving them time, and we speak their truth, meaning we can share, hey, the other day, you must have been feeling like I felt a week ago. A week ago, I was just really pissed off, and I probably burnt a lot of bridges without even realizing it. Would it be okay if I shared something with you? A question of grace, a permission question. Phase 4. Suddenly the person is open to hearing, and we're open to hearing what they have to say. Them hearing that we have an issue, if it need be stated. Oftentimes it's not. When we hold the space, when we speak their truth, phase 3, oftentimes they will speak our truth for us without us saying a word. The single greatest magic in the universe, invisibly, friction-free, in a state of surrender, they suddenly align with us. They suddenly, without even knowing it, pick up on where we're at and say the words that make us realize, oh, no need to hold on to this any longer. Or they realize they've done something and perhaps say, oh, do I need to apologize to you? And sometimes I've said that to people and they didn't even know what I'm talking about. It was just me that was concerned, overly sensitive that I may have stepped on somebody's toes. But better that than to let a possible grudge or resentment hang in the air. One of the greatest forms of magic, when somebody speaks our truth, phase 3. But we can't experience that if we jump immediately into phase 5, which is, again, telling them the way it is, laying it on the line. I will not take this anymore. Which every once in a while, rarely, but every once in a while, that is called for to bring down the cosmic 2x4. But I would say about 1/500th the amount of time than we typically see is used. That's what most people's version of speaking their truth is, laying it on the line. And of course, whereas what their real expectation is, they're wanting the other person to concede, to apologize. In fact, what happens is usually the opposite, because you didn't align with them. You didn't have forgiveness in your heart or hold the possibility of forgiveness. So with such hardcore proclamations, you create a reality, and what you get back is exactly what you were expecting. You create Frankenstein. That person reacts to you, and now they prove to you that your suspicions about them are correct. And if we go around life long enough like that, as many of us do, and all of us do to some extent, life becomes pretty difficult to bear. It becomes a self-created reality of people disappointing us. Whereas when we hold that forgiveness and that possibility in our heart, people open up, they shift, they change, not 100% of the time, but I say probably a good 80, 90, 95% of the time. And life is suddenly a lot sweeter. We go through still having our charges and not expecting the best, because that's kind of hard for a human being. We may try to make ourselves believe we're expecting the best, but there's always that animal part of our brain, that fight or flight tendency that has somehow or another been installed in the consciousness, in the literal neuronal structure of mankind from eons and eons of evolution, that we are reactive beings. So to say we expect the best is a misnomer. But we open ourselves up for the possibility of the best. We open ourselves up for the possibility that maybe our perceptions were completely incorrect. Maybe they had something going on we didn't know about. Maybe they have no clue what we're feeling, that they did anything to hurt us. Maybe if we ask enough questions, hold enough space, speak enough of their truth, we never have to go to that 5th phase, because suddenly we see something or realize something that we let it go ourselves. Whether it's us letting it go or them bringing it up in the form of an apology or just acknowledgement, whichever of those two occurs, it's a moment of grace. You string enough of those together and life becomes extraordinarily sweet as opposed to walking around guarded and tense, expecting the worst. Right now in our country, we just see such polarization, such anger, such phase 5 of telling the way it is, and it's all reflected back and just gets to be a greater and greater polarity. As whoever said it, we are the guru we've been waiting for. We are the answer. We are the solution. It's up to us. Just breathe that in for a few moments. Because it's in this quiet state, when we stop all the noise, that we can experience that grace. So be it, so it is.